Good evening. Hope everybody is doing good. Get Instagram going. How y'all been? It has been some time. It definitely has. Um, we'll get into a little bit of that tonight. But we do have special guests. Don't know if you guys are already following Black Expat Stories, but we'll have Courtney on. Courtney is a fellow expat that lives in Mexico. We're going to be talking about some things that are designed to wake you up, give you a little bit of pause and what it is that your daily life is, and have an opportunity to kind of look at something in a realization matter and say, okay, this is what they told me, but is it true? And a lot of us that are moving abroad and living abroad are starting to realize that the dream that you were sold, the things that you were told that you need to put value into, they're not actually valuable. You've got them. You got all the stuff. You got all the things. We're going to get into that tonight. We'll have Courtney on in a second. But how have you guys been? We have had quite some time since the last time that we saw you guys and got on this platform. We had a couple of people out last week for our relocation tour. Our relocation tour is a tour that is here. My name is RJ, by the way. So before we get into that, we make sure everybody knows who I am. My name is RJ. I live out here in Medellín, Colombia. I'm originally from Philadelphia. I moved here from South Florida, but I've been living here for 2 years. I've been bringing people and coming to Colombia since 2018, and it has been a wild journey. So what we do on this platform is honestly give you guys the opportunity. We give you guys the opportunity to have a conversation that is designed to not only give you some interesting experience on living abroad. Bring you to my travel network, my travel friends, my travel community, because they live in other places that I don't, so they can give you information regarding what life like may be there. But we also provide a community of resources and a network of experts that are designed to help make your move, if you are choosing to move to Colombia, a lot easier than so many of us had it. Now, before you even get into a position, because you may not be there, you may not be in the position of looking to move yet. However, today is day 60. We saw that man get inaugurated on January 20th, and today is March 20th. So we have made it 60 days. And in 60 days, we have seen more probably happen than in 6 months in one presidency. And it may be even a little bit longer than that. So a lot of you guys may be now considering, do I move? Where do I move? What does that look like? But the realistic situation is America hasn't taught you how to move abroad. America has taught you, okay, um, go to school, whatever that looks like, as far as grade school, high school. They do tell you if you can get higher education, go get that. But many of us in my age range did all of those things and still may not be in a position of the lucrative career they may have. They may be in a situation where they might have money and things, and things still keep just costing more. You might have gotten to a number as far as on paper, on salary, that your parents might not have been able to reach, yet you don't really have as much money and or freedoms, but you have all the stuff and things, all of the things that America told you it was going to be okay once you got on the other side of getting these things. Think I'm lying? Told you guys, get a nice car, get the beautiful car. That's going to make you feel some way about yourself, and it does. It does for a little bit, for a little bit. But what happens is you guys run into a scenario where the you guys run into a scenario where that doesn't always work out, because anybody that's got a nice car realizes once the newness and niceness wears off, you guys are going to be in a scenario where It's just a car. So many of us have run into this. Bear with me. I'm going to try to get Courtney on right now. I am, but I've been down that road, buying the stuff and the things that America told me was a part of the American dream. The nice car, the nice house, um, the clothes. I was a person that had a bunch of clothes, a bunch of stuff and a bunch of things. And so many people in the United States are in positions where you are giving yourself um, a little pause. The opportunity to take a look at some situations where you look at the stuff and the things that America told you to buy, they are designed to keep you there. So many people, when they go to actually move, they realize how much stuff that they actually have. Most of you guys have been in this scenario. I feel like they put the TV show Hoarders, put the TV show Hoarders on TV so that you, as what you would consider not a hoarder, you don't feel like a hoarder. Hmm. Everybody has said this to themselves when they went to go move. Everybody said, and this is not like a move abroad, they said this when they moved locally. When you have to go pack up your house, and let's say you move from one apartment to the next, one house to the next in your same city in the United States. And when you put all of your stuff in bags and boxes and suitcases, and you have to actually get back to the house as if you were never there, how many of you have actually said, hmm, when did I get all this stuff? When did I get all this stuff? You guys have been in a scenario where, once again, everything in the United States is designed to put you and center you around how much stuff and things you can purchase. Everything is designed to say, hey, it's another holiday. Don't you want some stuff? But if you are in a scenario where you are looking to move abroad, you might realize, maybe not all the way yet, but you might realize, okay, I got all this stuff, but I'm still looking to leave. Why do you think that is? Why do you think that is that you are looking to leave? Do you think you're looking to leave because the stuff and things actually aligned with something that was designed to put you in a scenario that was going to end up being exactly the way that you ultimately envisioned your life? Most of us don't wake up in the morning and say, what can I accumulate? But the way America works is it's designed to give you this consistent working scenario. Most of us don't have the opportunity to even be ourselves. And I say, what do you mean? Well, when's the last time that you did a hobby that you have? You might say, I don't have a hobby. Well, is that because you don't have any time to be you? You're not your job. My dad always said that to me. You aren't what you do. You are you. But America doesn't really give us an opportunity for us to be us. We've got to work all of the time. Think about the holiday season. You've got Thanksgiving. So maybe you're hosting Thanksgiving. Most of the time, you go to somebody's house for Thanksgiving. They cook most of the food, and then some people bring sides and things of that nature. But even that comes at an expense. You've got Christmas. Christmas is right there. Um, Obviously, everybody knows picking up extra shifts for Christmas gifts and things of that nature. A month later, what do you have? Oh, looks like we got Courtney coming on. Hey, Courtney, how you doing?
Hey
Can you?
RJ, I'm
Okay.
great. How are you? Thanks for your patience.
Yeah, no worries at all. I appreciate you joining. I appreciate you joining. I was just telling the people about some of these traps that we all run into back at home in America, and I think a lot more people now because I don't think maybe you realized it. Maybe anybody that hasn't been on. It's day 60. It's day 60 of season two.
Yes, of 2.0. And what I want people to understand is, we're making a lot of comparisons, historical comparisons around what's happening right now. And a lot of people don't know that. it took Hitler 53 days to dismantle democracy in Germany. And it only took 53 days for the rise of the Third Reich, which then resulted in what we know today as the Holocaust. So um, the urgency, the chaos, all of that is manufactured. It is on purpose. And it is time for us to be very, very concerned because we have to suspend disbelief. Too many of us are asking the wrong question. It's not can he or they do that. It's what are we going to do when they do that,
That
right?
is, we are. It's funny to be in that position because the opposition of what we are in right now, the other side, says these things aren't possible. This is never going to get passed, so we're not even going to try, or we're just going to try to walk it around and make it make sense. And I consider all of that because my boy, and I've heard this not even just from my boy, I've heard this from multiple people. Everybody's like, well, that's not going to stick. It's got to go through court or it's got to go through Congress. But I said this the other day, and I think it's reality, but it's also very sad. I think it's a desensitization, like psyop going on, where it's like we're just going to put crazy imagery in front of you, crazy headlines, crazy this, threaten everything that is could be your liberty. I've got people canceling trips down here because they're like, I'm tied in with the government. I've got a government job. I don't know what is going to happen. People, it's starting to bleed into the private sector, and the fear of it all is very interesting because I think people are positioned to get desensitized to it
Yeah,
extremely quickly because most people before it kind of ramped up, they were already in a position to be like, I limit my TV time. I damn
mhm,
sure to limit my news time. I limit my consumption on the internet because I'm already overworked, overwhelmed, and then to see what I we all just had to see in the last 60 days, and not just America, but the world.
yeah, yeah.
It's kind of like what's going on here.
And that is why I'm so concerned. And I've been having these conversations with folks here in my expat community as well. And again, as I mentioned before, it's by design, right? So the mastermind behind this strategy that the Trump 2.0 administration is enacting was Steve Bannon. And Steve Bannon has been interviewed and said that this was by design and they call it flooding the zone. It is meant they're releasing all of these, what is it, executive orders and rollbacks and all of that stuff intentionally to overwhelm folks because they understand human psychology, right? It was never meant for us to be able to process all of this information at once. They know that very well. And so that is why every single day there
Every
is a
day,
new headline, there is a
Saturday,
new update.
Sunday.
It is not by happenstance. And so we can't afford to, I get it, I'm part of the 92%. I'm all for us getting our rest in and really, focusing, reprioritizing our focus on ourselves. But we also cannot afford to put our head in the sand. And, the one of the main principles of war, because this is psychological warfare. Like, let's just call it what it is. One of the main principles of war is to know your enemy and know what they're doing. You can't know your enemy and you can't know what they're doing if you're not informed, you know. And that's another thing too. As a media scholar, and I spent years studying the media and studying how Black people are depicted in the media,
Hmm.
and
Talk to me.
um, yeah, like it's we right now many of our mainstream news sources have been compromised. And so I have been advocating for media literacy. I think that given how much content that we are creating and consuming on a daily basis, we like media literacy needs to be a subject in schools, because with the rise of AI and all of these deep fakes, it's so hard to discern what's true and what's not, right? So you have people who are trying to be informed, but they're not even getting the full story, because our mainstream media sources, the CNNs, the Foxes, the MSNBCs of the world,
The
those
social
that we have,
media.
the
Every
social
social
media,
media
all the
is 100%
timelines.
like. I mean, just you mean obviously social media, but you also have what the news. Jeff Bezos on what is it? Washington Post, one of the big.
Washington Post, yeah,
Like,
yeah,
how does that work? Where there's a bunch of people in the room that are like this, and nobody's. Everybody in America is really big on their liberties and their freedoms, and then to see them blatantly trampled upon,
yeah.
and everybody seemingly be complacent. Now, here, hold up. Before I say like all of that, I'm not, because I know how the algorithm works. I am not calling for no craziness. This is not what I'm calling for. I'm just talking about awareness of what is going on so that you can make a difference in your life, your community's life. Because the more conversations I have like this, Courtney, and we're gonna have to back up a little bit because I want you to be able to introduce yourself because we just got right into it. but
We did. Didn't we?
but the more conversations I have about this, I oftentimes have to say it, reword it, and then say it again for somebody to really understand. Because America keeps you so busy that you often don't know. Listen, I tell people, Tuesdays is mental health Tuesdays. I go to therapy. I told my therapist this. He
Come
said, "Say
on.
that one more time." I said, I said, we've gotten so comfortable with what we are uncomfortable with that we actually just got comfortable with it again, and we don't even realize that we are living with uncomfortability in our life. And so much of Americans have gotten used to things that are actually weighing them down. But
Yeah.
it's like a what can you do, but it used to be a we're going to do something. And I'll give you these things, and then we're going to get into this introduction because I need you to tell everybody who you are. All right. But $100 bag of groceries, that wasn't a thing at one point, yet it became a thing because when it first was a thing, everybody's like, what the hell is this? And then all of a sudden, easy peasy. um, uh, Mass incidents in schools, you and I, we already talked, we're the same age. We didn't grow up with doing fire drills. Now these children are growing up with fire drills and extra mass incident drills because that
I
is a
grew up with
reality.
mass. I grew up with mass shooter drills in my schools.
Really? You got to
Yeah.
watch the S word. You got to say the I word because you don't know
Oh,
the
oh,
out. Yeah, the out.
algorithm. Yes, my bad.
So you grew up with those. I did not grow up with those,
Yes,
and I'm from Philadelphia. So I thought that was
yes.
like outrageous for everything to be like normalized as if it was normal. And then when you point it out to somebody in America and you go through this thing, they're like, oh yeah, I forgot about this not being something that was supposed to be a part of my daily life. I was supposed to wake up and
Yeah,
think I was gonna go to the grocery store and get that was gonna be it. I was gonna go
yeah.
to school. That was gonna be it.
It's become a slippery slope. And again, I went to some of the best schools in the best neighborhoods. Okay.
Hmm.
The ones that they didn't want to be so blatant to install what is it, metal detectors, but we
Hmm.
did have those types of drills. And I'll tell you this, RJ, I attended a school my freshman year
Okay.
in high school. I attended Oxford High School in Oxford, Michigan. That
Mm.
might sound familiar to you because a couple of years ago, there was an incident there, and it set a precedent for charging the parents of the students.
Ah, okay. Yes, 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 yes.
Yeah.
Now I'm familiar.
Yeah, so I actually went to that school, and I remember the drills in that building, and it never sat right with me. Never ever sat right with me. But again, like you mentioned, it's become normalized. And this is how our here's the thing. Um we cannot take our liberties for granted. I think I think there's this misconception that once you have rights, then they're inalienable, right? Like our Constitution says, but they're not. They are not. They
Really?
can be taken away. And especially as Black people and people of color, some of us never had rights, and our people had to fight for the rights. And there are people who remember when we did not have said rights that are still living. So we
Yeah.
cannot be under this delusion that we will forever have these rights available to us, because they're proving that that's not the case.
Things can change very
Yes,
quickly. So before
yes.
we go too far, let's just can you tell, because I know this is definitely being live streamed, however people will watch this at a later date, so I know they probably like, y'all just jump right into it. I'm not even certain who you're talking to. Can you tell them not only who you are, but I did give them a heads up about Black Expat Stories, what that is, and what made you even come up with this idea?
Yeah, well, thank you so much for having me here. Hey to everyone that's watching. My name is Courtney Bowden, and I am the founder and the creator of Black Expat Stories, which is a multimedia ethnography podcast and platform that is capturing what I believe to be America's next great migration, the Black movement. And so we are showcasing and amplifying the voices of the pioneers like you and I at the forefront of what is happening right now. Now, for those of you who might be history buffs like me, we know that the original Great Migration happened in the early 1900s, and that is when 50% of Black Americans moved from the South to the North and to the West. And I argue, my thesis is that we are in the midst of another great migration, another iteration of this migration movement, except it is now global. And so at Black Expat Stories, we are committed to capturing these journeys because, we're seeing how much of our history is being erased, how many of our voices are being silenced. And when the mainstream media gets a hold of what's actually happening, because just like the Great Migration, it took them a little while to catch up. Once they catch up to what's happening, they're going to try to shift the narrative, and they're going to try to whitewash the narrative. And so what Black Expat Stories, what I'm doing with this platform, is saying no, the voices of the people that we're interviewing, we're telling our stories. They're unfiltered, they are real, and we're talking about the real reasons why we are leaving the United States in droves. I mean, as if it's not already obvious, right?
Hmm. No, and it's not only obvious, but we Black Expat Stories, the word, we get, and I set the parameters to say, because some people are like, why are you guys expats? The number of other people
Oh, yeah.
immigrants. Listen, you can call me whatever you like. I'm not going to be there. How about that? You can call me a migrant, immigrant. You can call. I am not concerned about what the word is. Immigrant, from a branding perspective, just a heads up, is a little bit longer than the word expat. So
Yeah.
that is the easiest thing. I am not one of those people, and that is one thing I think about, because I think a lot of people get hung up on the word of who calls who expat. But what also is happening right now is we look at each other. We look at the people that you've interviewed, and you've interviewed a numerous amount of people. However, so many people right now, the expat movement is looking different. I'll be 38, Lord willing, in
Yes.
August, and your birthday's in August, and I'm literally like,
Yeah.
I look at that and I'm like, okay, how many people now of our age, because historically the entire expat movement has been people that were retired, or somebody that was like super well off, that they could just go travel the world and spend time in other places. But now we are working, we are living, we are building community, we are going out, finding local
Yes.
communities and being a part of them. We are a group of people, at least I know here in Medellin, it's like we range from, I don't know, I would say we got people like 20s, 25, but I would say most people are like that late 20, honestly 30 age to like 50. Like that is a good sweet spot for the number of people that are here and the things that are around. Not saying anybody that's not older, not saying anybody's younger, but there are a lot of people here where in the past the entire expat situation did not look like this right now as
No.
it does today. So it's, if there was a black people migration movement from leaving America and seeing other places, it now has an entirely different face and it looks like us. People that
It
are young enough to still be working, raising children. I don't have any kids. I got a little puppy. And he's an old man. He's just little. But like, this looks so much different. And you capturing those things is such an amazing thing because I think so many people don't know what it actually looks like, and the content that is being put out doesn't necessarily paint real life abroad.
Yes, I'm so glad that you mentioned that because, you know, when I moved, we moved in 2021, and that was well before the social media content around expat life and moving abroad really popped off. But I even when it started getting more popular, I did notice that, and maybe this is, due to the algorithm, right? But I noticed that it was a lot of these glossy portrayals, a lot of this flexing, a lot of this talk around how cheap it is to live in certain areas, which sure we are experiencing a little bit of economic relief, but that also is a slippery slope as well because that paves the way for gentrification and overdevelopment, right? And that's something that we've talked about as well. And so yeah, like it has I think that the face of who is an expat, who is an immigrant, is changing largely because of the fact that many of us have been untethered from having to work in a physical building from day to
Yeah.
day, right? Like our parents, our grandparents, they didn't have these privileges. And there are those of us who are saying, you know what? If I'm working from home, I might as well work in another country. I might as well, work from Mexico, work from Colombia, work from Bali, Thailand, all of these other places. And we are leveraging our privilege as American citizens with that blue passport book, and we're putting it to work. And I'm proud of us. I'm so proud of us because it's a segment in a generation who have decided that we don't have to struggle in the same ways that our predecessors have struggled. We don't have to be present for the messy parts of the inevitable collapse of the American empire, right? And we can build beautiful lives in the midst of all of this by ejecting ourselves from the matrix, getting out of the fray, and you know exploring the world. I believe that we belong everywhere our feet tread. Black people are indigenous to the earth, the planet. We're the first people. Okay, so it really annoys me, it frustrates me a lot when I hear people talking. They love to punch down on Black people who are moving abroad and calling us colonizers and gentrifiers. Now here's the thing: we can gentrify, right? Because we
100%.
power of the
But there's a
American
reason behind that, though. You know that,
and
right?
also um, from the conversations that I've had with Black expats, I've had hundreds of conversations. Most of the time we are moving out of sheer necessity, out of sheer survival, so that we can actually live, whereas our non-melanated counterparts tend to move as a way of like just doing these random jaunts around the world. And
I
so
call
when
it
we
a, I call it a white Hajj. They go on their white Hajj
White
around the world.
House. I've never heard that before, but that is brilliant. Yeah, absolutely. And whereas we, as Black people, and people of color, we tend to come into places. We tend to want to learn the language. We tend to want to get connected with the local community. So the way that we move around in the world innately is different, and it should not be conflated with the average. With the it should not be conflated with the stereotypes of the average white American traveler. That's one of the reasons why Black expat stories exist as well. is to really demystify how we're doing this, why we're doing
Why?
this, and
Mhm.
how we are, building these beautiful lives outside and beyond the borders of our birthplaces.
Yeah, and I think that's such an important situation because I said there's a reason why with the gentrification, with the and not realizing that they can be a part of it because it's a couple of things. We as Black Americans, we don't have any American privilege. Like we don't get the upper hand in America, and the first time that you ever get that is going to live in or moving abroad, and
Yeah.
that reality is you could easily forget that you don't like some of the things that you could easily become because you never had the opportunity to do it. And now you a full ass adult. It's not like you're like in this pliable, flexible stage where you're like you could be molded into this thing. Like, no, you're already 30 plus years old. You feel like the way that you do things is so we have a number of people that are coming with getting that for the first time at whatever age they're coming here. But then, two, the miseducation of the American education
Oh, man.
does not allow you to believe that America is maybe not the best place in the world. I start this night off with the American dream being a lie because the reality of your value being tied up in stuff and things, and then you go out in the world and you see people that got stuff and things, but they're a lot happier than you. They might not have as many stuff and things, but they're still a
Yeah.
lot happier than you. But the miseducation has so many people saying things or feeling some things about even people that move abroad or living abroad. Because I had a buddy the other day, and um, he says to me, "Raj, you love black people so much, but why did you move to a Spanish speaking country?" And I said, and this is why you guys need to learn more
There's black
about
people
the
there
world.
too.
Not as only is it black people there, I think Colombia has the third highest amount of Africans in the what is it like on this side of the world? I think it's Brazil, United States, and then Colombia.
Oh, I
Somebody
didn't
obviously
know.
correct me if I'm wrong, but as far as population of black people
Yeah.
in on this side of the world outside of Africa, yes. And Colombia has the first free town of Africans in the Americas. But the American education system won't teach these people. So what we were talking about when we first got on the phone, we were like trying to educate adults that haven't been privy to this information until right now. Maybe you just heard this right now, today years old, that there's all these black people that's here in Colombia, and there's so many more people that you don't even realize. That is the opportunity that I think not only Black expat stories, the conversation that we have here with myself, people that we're continuously bringing on, because it's going to take the community. It's gonna take you guys stopping this individualistic
Come
thought
on.
process.
Come on.
Because if y'all not like so when I do these, I'll have CNN on quiet just because I need to see the headlines that people are watching. So I always take a look. You got the dismantling of the Department of Education at the same time where we're gonna leave it up to states. And I'm telling y'all that so many travelers are uneducated about what the real world is like,
Oh
what
my God.
value in your life actually means things because you get abroad and you realize I, I I think about it when I think about it. Honestly, Courtney, it's like one of those like old man like ha, almost got me. Like they almost got me. Like I almost like you almost got me because I almost
Yeah.
spent the next 30, 40, cross my
Mhm.
fingers to live that long years just buying a bunch of stuff and thinking that that was going to be the happiness that I was looking for in my life. And you get out and you see some things, you meet these people around the world, you meet people in these communities, and you're like, I almost traded my life for possessions that
Yeah.
you can't take none of it with you.
Yeah. These artificial markers of success is what I like to call them.
Woo.
know,
A
these
bag.
trinkets that we collect. And that's the thing about the unique form of American capitalism is that it strips us of everything that we need inherently to be human, to operate, right? Of community, all of that stuff. And it sells it back to us. And then it keeps us on this hamster wheel of acquiring more things. And so the more money we make,
More stuff you buy.
stuff that we buy. And all of that stuff requires maintenance. It requires you to, like, how you got it is
So
what you
talk
did to
to you.
get it is what you got to do to keep it, you know?
Talk to you.
And so I think that one of the things that I learned moving abroad was just embracing more minimalism, recognizing that I really don't need all them shoes. I don't really need all them bags. I would rather invest my time and my energy and my money and my resources in another trip to immerse myself in culture and understand how the world works. And you mentioned this idea of like being miseducated. I mean, yeah. And I think travel is one of the best forms of education you can get because you meet so many different people, you encounter so many different circumstances, and it stretches you and it shows you what you're made of. And my deepest prayer for all of us, even if moving abroad is not in the picture for you, at least travel more extensively if you have not already, because it will help you see yourself differently and the world differently, right? It's funny because I was having this conversation, a similar conversation, I think it was yesterday, and talking about like it wasn't until I moved abroad that I realized how uninformed I am about other countries. I talk to people who are Mexican, German, folks from all over the world
Ain't no
because Playa is definitely like a melting pot now. And they can tell me more about my country and what's happening inside of the United States than I could ever tell them about what's happening, right? And so I think that that gives that puts us at a severe disadvantage because the American media is also very insular, right? So very rarely do we learn anything outside of what's happening in the United States.
nothing.
And it's meant to keep us with these blinders on.
That this is the best place. This is the only thing going on. How many times have you turned on CNN or any news station, any one of them, and it's supposed to be a time where they're giving us news about the world, news about what's going on, and it's a fashion segment.
Yeah, it's propaganda. It's
You're
guys,
t-
it's propaganda.
Yo, that's real. Like, and they keep you busy, and then that's why I'm like, that's why I was like, ha, they almost got me because you don't realize that you just been like a horse at the derby, just like this. You don't have it. So I felt bad as a person that loves us. I felt bad because in a room full of Afro Colombians, they could rattle off Martin Luther King, they could rattle off Rosa Parks, Malcolm X, all of the civil rights leaders, even knowing about Fred Hampton.
Mm.
Challenge me to at that position to know one.
Like who their heroes are, right?
Now they have the exact same heroes, exact like you'd be surprised. So and so did this exact same thing that Harriet Tubman did.
Yep.
This
Yep.
person did the exact same thing that Martin Luther. But do you know? Do I know? Do we hear about these things? But the reason I tell people that we're not hearing about these things, and it's time for the American dream that you have in your head to be shattered and wake up and really realize what it is. Because I hate that I have to tell you this, but I just think it's time because I needed to hear it. I was in a room full of Afro Colombians, and what they told me was what I hear back at home. What I hear back at home is, one day we're gonna have a seat at the table, like a real seat. Black people in the United States don't have their own neighborhoods. They don't have their own community banks, schools. Like hospitals. These are all things that other communities have in abundance in America, around the cities and across the United States. Yet black people, for some reason, aren't allowed to have those. And when I hear Afro-Colombians saying the same things I hear back in the States at home about us wanting a seat, it makes me say, we don't realize they know we exist. We don't know they exist. But the
Yeah.
opportunity to reconnect that diaspora and share these resources that we have amongst the diaspora, the global diaspora of Africans, as we continue to travel in different places, create community, that is where the table that is for us lies at. It is not the table that after hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds, and then add another hundred of years on, we're not in positions to want to be at those tables. For what?
Yeah. Yeah. And it's like sometimes we're clamoring to be at these tables that we're supposed to be flipping, that we're supposed to be shattering and destroying. And to your point about, this pan-African unity that's necessary, I think that is going to be a game changer for our collective liberation, because it is by design that we are ignorant about each other's histories, about each other's struggles, and it is also by design that we are having these diaspora wars, right, that
Oh,
keep
bro, I hate it.
us divided, and
What's
keep us
taking
from
over?
organizing, right? But I'm seeing a shift. I truly am seeing a shift. I think that with the rise of, social media, for all of its drawbacks, technology and social media are really, um, eliminating a lot of the gatekeepers and helping us connect and find ourselves in community. And so that gives me hope, and a sense of optimism that we can overcome, so long as we unite. And community is going to be the way that we do it, because as we're seeing in the United States, so much is collapsing at this moment. So much is shrinking. These departments, these government programs, we can no longer afford to wait for the government to save us. We are the ones that are going to save us.
Not even like 1,000, like a whole million%. Because the reason why this platform exists, the reason why I reached out to get in contact with you to be able to have conversations like these, was because from not being in the game, I was in the States, but I was still taking people abroad, bringing them communities, and then going back home.
Mm,
But I realized that it was going to take someone, some people, not one, some people that
yeah.
were willing to take thought process, education, the ability to inspire, the ability to communicate,
Yep.
and say, this is what we can do. Now, you and I are only one person, but you and I together, now we have two. And now you put me in contact with somebody, and then now we have an entire room full of people that say, how do we mobilize across the diaspora? These are the things that I believe that your platform, my platform, you, Courtney, me, RJ, we're doing as individuals and looking to be a part of a collective that is designed for the people that are watching this back at home to feel like there's somebody that cared enough. Because most of us, when we went and took that first step in moving and living abroad,
Man,
there
listen.
was there was nothing. There was not a lot of stuff
Resources.
to be able to say, here's actionable stuff. Here's some ideas, yeah, but like, what can I actionably do? It wasn't a lot. And I really appreciate you being able to jump on with this. This is not going to be the only conversation that you will see between us and Ms. Courtney, because I think there's a lot to unpack here. One thing I will tell everybody that is watching this, you if you do it right, will have more of an outside life than you probably do in the United States. I live in a place where it's always nice. So all of y'all people waiting for the weather to break. What if the weather was already broken all year long? These
Listen.
things So that is why I do have to end up wrapping up for her tonight. But Courtney, I will reach back out to you. I want to get back on because I think there's a number of things not only to cover more that the algorithm will do its thing in letting people find us, but fortunately and unfortunately, this person and the things that are going on are going to give us more reason to have continued conversation and to be able to help people that are realistically looking for the type of content, more so conversations. This isn't designed for, there's no money involved here. This is designed to just help and educate where it is that we didn't have, so that you guys feel a lot more comfortable about what this move could look like for you when you actually make it.
Absolutely, RJ. I completely agree because you cannot it's hard to be what you cannot see. And my highest intention is to be an example of what is possible. Had I had access to this information 10, 15 years ago, I would have been gone, okay? I would have been chucked the deuces a
I would have
long
had so many more, much more money in my bank account from not spending $8,000 to $10,000 a month in South Florida just to
time. Come
live.
on.
Like
Yes, yes. So I
maybe I
really
wouldn't have no grades. I might have full head of hair. You taking me back, Curtis? You gonna take me back?
look,
I might have.
life would have been different, but what I am grateful for is that we were able to find our way out, and
Yeah,
we are helping others do that. And I really appreciate you having me on this evening. I love what you're doing, and let's keep up this good liberatory work. And so for those of you who are looking for more conversations with Black expats who are living all around the world, be sure to tune in to Black Expat Stories. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel. Just search Black Expat Stories. We are Black Expat Stories everywhere, on TikTok, on Instagram, on Facebook. Also, be sure to join our newsletter where you won't miss another episode because these algorithms get funny. So you can go to blackexpatstories.com/newsletter to join, and let's keep this conversation going.
listen, we going to. I was off for a week. I usually don't get a week off unless I'm traveling, but I was here. The relocation tour went great. The people had a great time. I needed some time to just recuperate because anybody that's been on a tour, the girl called me she said, "You're a Hostonian." And I said, "I've never heard that before." But she's like, "You are like the host of all hosts." I tell people when they come here with me or any trip, I say, "I don't know your mother. But if something happened to you, I'm gonna have to get to know your mother. So I don't want to get to know her unless you want to invite us to hang out. I want to make sure you're safe, you have a great time. So I go into like best brother, best favorite cousin mode, whatever you want to call it, because this is an opportunity for people to see life changing things with us. And
Yes,
I actually am seeing these things. So I
yes,
realized that I started on a journey that I did not realize was going to be as important, even though I knew it was. And to see some of these people that I'm meeting, it feels like I am doing what I am supposed to be doing in my life, and it is the best feeling ever, to be honest with you.
Oh, I share the same sentiment. And I'm so happy that you answered the call because, again, we are the ones. And I just think about how often I think about what it must have been like to be a conductor on the Underground Railroad, to know that you are helping usher other people into the next phase of their freedom. And so I take that very seriously. And I just, it's such an honor to be able to support people like that. And for you too, being on the ground and helping welcome people in, there's just something about that because, like you mentioned earlier, we did not have all of this when we took the leap of faith, and look at us now. And so, for those who are on the precipice, you're on the edge and you're not sure if this is right for you, then I encourage you, go on a scouting tour, go on a relocation tour, tune into these conversations, really educate yourself, and you'll be surprised at just how much you will expand your horizons when you just decide to step outside of that box and do life a little bit differently.
Yes. The time is now, people. The time is now. All I ask y'all to do is not go from TikTok to terminal. Do some research. Find some things out. Have a conversation with yourself about these kind of conversations. They are already existing. If you are not on YouTube, go to Black Expat Life in Colombia. I talk to myself all of the time, but today I've got Courtney with me. I appreciate you, Courtney, so much. It looks beautiful in your background. I'm about to go out and enjoy myself. I think I've got dinner and there's a dope jazz spot out here.
Ooh,
And Thursday through Saturday, they do different themes.
okay.
So, yeah.
Oh, that
I,
sounds like a vibe. You
I
better
keep
go enjoy
telling you.
that.
I keep telling you to come on out.
Get over to Medellin. I gotta come
Come
to
on
Medellin.
out. I'll hit you up soon about when we can jump back on, see what that looks like. But once again, thank you, everybody. I appreciate y'all. Please go to moodtravelcolumbia.com. There are all the free resources that we have put together for y'all. Information on our relocation tours, all of our experts. Excuse me. We do not gatekeep all of the information. You can go contact them without having to contact through me. I just want y'all to have a lot easier time than we had it. So thank you, Courtney. I will talk to you soon, and you enjoy the rest of your night.
Thank you. You as well. Take care,
All right.
y'all. Bye.
Bye-bye.